Hello. Can you see me?
Yeah, you're still a little close to the camera, so it's a little dark.
Oh. We're going to be making homemade biscuits today. From scratch. Alright, you're going to have your mixing bowl, of course. That's pretty self-explanatory. And we're going to start out with, the recipe actually calls for 2 cups of self-rising flour, but we're going to double the recipe. So we're going to use 4 cups. And my lovely assistant, my daughter, will be helping us along with this. She's putting in the 4 cups of flour. You're also going to want to cut into it a handful of shortening, lard, butter, whatever it is that you actually prefer to use. We're actually going to use 1 full stick of butter. You want it softened, but you don't want it melted. It's important that the butter goes in a solid state because it's what's going to give your biscuits the actual flakiness. So we're going to put that in there. And at this moment, we're actually going to cut the flour, or you can do this one of several ways. And I'm trying to find another butter knife here. So you can use the old school method. You could use your hands, but then you're going to be actually melting the butter even more. So you could use 2 utensils like butter knives and just crisscross and slowly cut it into place. But for this, I'm going to cheat a bit because I have the pastry cutter. And the pastry cutter actually makes it a lot easier to incorporate these ingredients. You're pretty much going to want the flour and the butter to come together all the way to an even consistency, a crumbly consistency. And again, the less you actually interact with the butter with your own hands, warming it up, it's going to give you that extra flake. So this might take a couple minutes. The butter is still kind of stiff and hard. You can see the bumps and the lumps coming together. This is actually one occasion that you want bumps and lumps. And my poor daughter is having a hard time keeping the bowl in one place, it seems. And she's making a mess. She's just throwing flour all over the place now. But that's part of baking. Mix, mix, cut, cut. All right, let me take a look here. Like I said, we get that stuff all mixed in there. Cut it in there good. You don't want no excessively big hunks of butter, but at the same time, you don't want them so small that they don't actually give you a nice layer or texture or flakiness to that biscuit that homemade biscuits is so famous for. Now, when you get everything put together pretty decently, like I said, you're going to have those butter clumps in there. Again, that's what's going to give you that flake. And now we're actually going to use 2 cups of milk. Remember, I'm doubling this, so the original recipe is only 1 cup of milk, but because I'm doubling the recipe, I'm using 2 cups. Yum. All right. Now we're going to take, what I find the best thing to use is the end of a spoon. Just a regular spoon. The end of it actually helps you stir it and keep it from clumping up too badly on you. And like with most things, it's important, especially when it comes to baking certain things. You don't want to overwork your dough. But you do want to get it mixed really, really well. Now, a lot of people don't generally make their own biscuits because it's not convenient. But in all actuality, it really doesn't take that long to make. And it has a far superior taste, actually, I think. My daughter's shaking her head yes. I think she agrees. Now, depending on where you live, sometimes it's going to be a little too dry. Or right now, we have a lot of moisture in the air here where I live. So it seems that it's just a little bit too wet. So we can actually fix that by adding in a little bit of flour. Good idea to go ahead and flour your hands a little bit. Give me your hands, girl. All right, now we're going to roll this dough on out here. Once we get it out, we'll sprinkle a little flour on it. All right. Would you mind putting that in the sink? There you go. Go ahead and flour that dough out a little bit there. All right. Now I'm going to use a biscuit cutter. Everybody doesn't have to have a biscuit cutter. I've seen people use the tops of a cup. I've seen people use cans after they've taken out their goodies. Now all you got to do is really sit down and press it good. You don't have to go crazy with it and spin and turn and all that other stuff. I've seen where a lot of people do all this right here. It's not necessary. Those are just a bit thin actually, so what we're going to do is regroup here. And if you add layers to it, that's going to add extra layers to your biscuits in the end as well. So now I'm going to show you something a little old school. Don't even need a rolling pin. Just go ahead and press that thing on out. Use the palm of your hand. So we're going to sit there and put these around in a lightly greased cast iron skillet. I love my cast iron skillets.
Mm-hmm.
Now sometimes if you get some that are really thin, you can double them things up. Press it down a little bit. That's going to give it a flake there. This is homemade stuff, so it doesn't have to exactly be pretty. Helps, but it doesn't have to be. I think my daughter's saying that the cast iron's a little bit heavy. All right, we're going to put this on the stove and wait for the oven to finish getting up to temperature. And now we'll hurry up and clean up our mess.